I'm Rebecca of Pocketful of Posies. The holiday season is upon us, and I decided for this week's project I would make some Christmas presents and some ornaments. For my first project, I decided to make a housewife or a housewife, and I used a pattern from Willoughby and Rose, and I will link her page down below as well as her YouTube channel because she has a great YouTube channel and some really wonderful sewing projects and tutorials. And then I also made some handmade, well, I used the machine for one, some ornaments, and I found those on Etsy, and I will link that shop down below. Unfortunately, I don't know how to pronounce the name of it, but it will be linked down below for all of you who are interested. So without further ado, let's get into these handmade holiday projects. Here we go. To start construction of the housewife, which I will be giving as a Christmas present to someone, I first cut out a little rectangle of wool to use as a needle keeper. Kate's instructions are very clear and easy to follow, and I really enjoyed this project. I pinned and cut out the body of the housewife, then I repeated that for the lining fabric. This is a great project for making use of scraps and small pieces of fabric. I next cut out 4 pocket pieces with different fabrics. My last piece to cut out was the end piece. Following the pattern instructions, I made a small double fold on one long edge of each pocket piece. I pinned them in place before ironing. I also turned and basted a single fold of the opposite side of the pocket pieces, except the one placed at the bottom of the housewife, as well as turning and basting a single fold on the straight edge of the rounded end piece. After hemming one long edge of each pocket piece, I pinned them all and the needle keeper to the lining and sewed the bottom of each pocket to the lining with a whip stitch. I also secured the needle keeper with a whip stitch. I then pinned the body to the lining and basted around the edges of the entire housewife. I used dark green bias tape and pinned it around the edges of the housewife. I then sewed the binding down on both sides with a whip stitch. Finally, I attached ribbon to the top of the housewife to use as ties. experimented with filling it with sewing supplies, rolled it up, and tied the ribbon, just to check to see how it would look. For my next project, I made Christmas ornaments. Hercules was helpful. I started with a 2-color ball ornament. Hercules helped me measure the pieces I needed. Lucius lent his aid as well. I needed 2 strips of one design and 2 strips of a contrasting design. The next step is to attach 2 contrasting pieces together. These ornaments can 100% be sewn by hand, and in fact I did a different ornament by hand, but I opted for speed on this first one. I sewed both sets of contrasting pieces. I then laid out the pattern piece following the directions and cut out 4 pattern pieces using line A. Then I used line B on the other piece and cut 4 of those. So then I had 8 pieces total with the seam line going opposite directions. Hercules loves to assist with reading instructions. We got to work assembling by pinning the A and B pieces right sides together. Then I sewed each of them along one side. Lucius helped me pin the newly sewn pieces to each other, right sides together. I went to the machine and sewed one side of those pieces. Now we have created 2 halves of the ornament, and it's time to pin them together. I sewed around the pinned pieces, leaving an opening to turn and stuff. Time to stuff! I used regular old polyfill. I closed the opening with a very sloppy ladder stitch. Also, I didn't use enough stuffing, but c'est la vie. I, out of focus, attached some embroidery floss to use as a hanger. Lastly, to decorate the ornament, I went around the seams between the contrasting fabrics and added some stitches with embroidery floss. I also made a patchwork ball by hand, but I didn't film that because I was sitting on the couch. These projects were fun, easy, and relaxing, and I really enjoyed making them. Maybe you will too! Hello, I'm Rebecca of Pocketful of Posies. Today's video is all about handmade holiday gifts. Since I've been spending a lot of time unable to sew anything big or cut out anything big with my back issues, I decided that maybe it would be nice this year to hand make some holiday gifts for my friends and family. So that's what I did, and I can't wait to share all of the things that I made with you. So without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go! This project is a great example of the algorithm made me do it. I had been seeing an advertisement on Facebook for these embroidered wool bookmarks, and I thought I could totally make that. I cut out a 4x4 template and got started. I knew I needed to keep the embroidery on one half of the front piece since it will be cut diagonally to attach to the back. I drew my design on with a FriXion pen and got to work. I definitely used the first one as a mock-up of sorts. I did a whipped back stitch to outline the letter, satin stitches for the smaller leaves. For the larger leaves, I outlined them with a stem stitch, and I used French knots for flower buds. Attaching the front to the back is done with a blanket stitch. It took me a little while to get the hang of it, but I got there in the end. The bookmark just slides on the corner of the page. I made a few more since they are so cute and pretty quick and easy to make. I love that they can be personalized for whoever will be receiving them. For my next gifts, I bought a felt ornament template of a Scandinavian Dala horse and bird. My grandfather immigrated from Sweden, and we have continued many Swedish Christmas traditions. I will link the Etsy shop in the description below. This project could also be done by kids, perhaps using glue instead of sewing. I cut out my Dala horse with some wool felt in dark red. The brighter red felt was a little too stiff. All of the pieces were cut out, and here's how they go together. Somewhere between cutting out and sewing, my Dala horse disappeared. So I had to cut it out in the stiff red felt after all. I sewed both the Dala horse and bird in bed. They're filled with polyfill, and I think they are really cute. My next handmade holiday gifts were embroidered necklaces. I purchased the kits. They came as a set of 4. I'll link them in the description below. I really enjoyed these kits. It was nice to have everything ready to go when I was ready to start. I followed the instructions provided, and they were fun and quick little makes. After finishing the embroidery, the fabric is gathered around the oval insert. Don't forget to trim the fabric. The only thing not provided in the kit was glue. I used super glue. I made a couple of these and I think they are really pretty. I enjoyed all of these little projects so much. It's nice to have something to gift that you made with your own hands. Do you have favorite handmade gifts? Let me know in the comments. Hello, I'm Rebecca of Pocketful of Posies. Today's video is a fun one. I am making some last minute Christmas stockings for my sewing helpers and foster puppy. So we have our dogs, Loki, Thor, our 2 cats, Hercules and Lucius, who do help me out in the sewing room the most, and then our foster puppy, Kit Kat. So I'm making some quick and easy holiday stockings for them, and I'm bringing you along on the journey. So without further ado, let's get to it. Here we go. I am using a free pattern from Learn, Create, Sew. I will link it in the description. For the first stocking, I actually followed the instructions. I know, I'm as shocked as you are. Cut 2 pieces each of lining and outer fabric. The lining is sewn right sides together, leaving an opening on the side and keeping the top unsewn as well. I trimmed the seam allowance. The outer fabric has a piece of ribbon as a hanger. I pinned it where indicated and kept it facing in when I pinned the outer fabric right sides together. The outer fabric pieces are sewn together, leaving the top open. The next step is to place the outer inside the lining, right sides together. Line them up and pin the top opening edges, then sew around the opening. Turn the stocking right side out through the opening in the lining. Sew the opening in the lining closed. Place the lining into the outer fabric and fold over the top edge, showing the lining fabric. I added an initial for Hercules, and that definitely would have been easier before I sewed the whole stocking. For Lucius's stocking, I tried making an unlined version. This one was the easiest and fastest to make. Take the two pieces and pin and sew right sides together, leaving the top open. Trim the seam allowance with pinking shears or clip the curves and zigzag the raw edges before turning right side out. Again, I decided to add the initial after sewing the stocking. I sewed both of the fabric stockings before thinking, oh, I should put their initials on it. Hercules supervised as I cut a piece of felt with pinking shears. I added a hanger from that same felt and hemmed the top edge by hand. It would be super fast on the machine if you wanted to hem it on the machine. For our dogs and our foster puppy, I decided to use felt to make the stockings. Using felt meant I didn't have to finish any raw edges. They are stiff though, because I had very stiff felt pieces. That's all I had. So maybe not practical for a stocking that needs to hold a lot of stuff. My felt sheets weren't quite long enough for the pattern, but I didn't really think it mattered that much. I chose not to sew right sides together since it is so stiff. I embroidered Loki's name on a contrasting piece of felt. I did all hand sewing on this one, so it did take longer than the fabric stockings. I wanted a rustic look. To finish, I added a ribbon for a hanger. I used the same process for our foster puppy. I cut out a tree shape for her name tag, and I made her stocking out of some pink felt. I also sewed the sides of hers on the machine, and I sewed the name tag on with the machine as well, but honestly it doesn't look as good as doing it by hand. Like, I just don't think I like the hand sewn look much better. Thor's stocking is a bit different. I thought I'd try using glue to attach the name tag. If you wanted to make these with kids, you could do everything as far as putting the stocking together and adding decorative pieces or the name tag and any of that stuff. You could do everything with glue. Probably a tacky glue or some kind of a felt glue. I used hot glue since I had it on hand. I sewed Thor's stocking with a whip stitch. I think they all came out really cute. Perfect for little Christmas treats. Would you make handmade stockings? Or have you made handmade stockings? Let me know down in the comments. Hello, I'm Rebecca of Pocketful of Posies. Today's project is another installment of handmade holiday gifts. I'm really excited to share these little gifts with you. They're easy, they're simple, and they make really nice handmade gifts to give to your friends and family. All of these gifts can be made with scraps of fabric. You don't need a lot of yardage, so they're really good, they're really economical, and you know, putting your own work into something is a really nice gesture, especially around these holiday times. So without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go. Let's begin our quick and easy DIY handmade holiday projects with a super simple drawer sachet. Cut a rectangle that's 6.5 inches by 4 inches out of your chosen fabric. Pick a fabric that is breathable. Cotton or linen work the best. Fold over a narrow hem on both short ends. Sew those hems on each end. I also zigzagged the long edges to neaten them up. After ironing, fold the rectangle in half, right sides together, and sew the side seams. Turn right side out and fill partway full with rice. Maybe don't spill the rice like I did. You could also make the rectangle longer and wider and make warm compresses you can heat in a microwave. You would just sew the open end after filling with rice or beans and your essential oils of choice. I like to add dried flowers or herbs to my sachets. The scent is totally up to you. Add a few drops of essential oils to finish up, and then close with a pretty ribbon. That way it can be reopened and more essential oils can be added later down the road to freshen it up. The next handmade gift is a felt ornament. You could also use fabric, but you would need to finish the raw edges or sew it right sides together and turn out. I just looked up a free tree shape to use as my template. Cut 2. Decoration is up to you. You could embroider on it like I did. I just embroidered a simple initial using a stem stitch. You could add some little other pieces of felt to make ornaments. Really, anything you want. This is a fun project for kids too. You could use glue instead of sewing the pieces together and glue on little ornaments out of different colored felt as well. It would be a really fun project for the little ones. Sew around the shape with a running stitch, leaving an opening at the bottom to fill. Secure a ribbon or embroidery thread hanger at the top. I filled mine with cabbage or small pieces of scrap fabric. Polyfill would work just as well. After filling, sew the bottom shut with a running stitch. On to a fabric star-shaped ornament. Again, I printed a shape I found online as my template. Sew both sides to each other, right sides together, leaving an opening to turn and stuff. I had plenty of supervision for this project. Fill it with fabric scraps and then sew the opening closed, if you can, between kitty nuzzles. I forgot to add the hanger before I sewed it up, so I added one. I just sewed it on by hand to the top, and I added a cute bow to top it off. Either of these ornaments would be really good pincushions, or you could also make them sachets. They'd be sewn up, so you wouldn't be able to add more essential oils. Or you could make little microwavable hand warmers with these shapes. Really, anything you want. To see other handmade holiday gift ideas, check out the video links in the description or my handmade gift playlist. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you spending your time with me. Let me know down in the comments if you plan on making any handmade holiday gifts. I'm very excited to hear what they are. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't, and if you'd like to be notified whenever I upload, you can hit that little bell icon. To support the channel further, I have a Ko-fi account, and that is linked down below. Make sure to check out the links in the description for my other videos about handmade gifts, and I will see you on our next sewing adventure. Bye!